because, yeah, that's what I'm hearing. We're getting alerts about it, and that's one reason we're behind. I thought some people said that the text would say, I'm coming, I'm gonna be late, and that included our AP person. And so, we'll figure it out. What is, I could pick on our principals for a minute. I know it. These are easy. These are easy. What is an English teacher's favorite treat? Poetry. Okay, dad joke number one, dad joke number two. What is a math teacher's favorite treat? Geometry, or the trigonometry. That both would work. Okay, I'm a history major, old history teacher. You know, and I'm giving away the punchline here, but the snake's favorite subject. Yes, story. Sorry, the entertainment is not what you came for, believe me. We'll get to the data in just a minute. They would pay me to leave if that's what we were doing. Ben, why was the broom late to class? The broom. Because he overslept.
Oh,
That's it. Okay. We're getting there. I'm trying to wake people up a little thinking.
Killing it.
I know, right?
Jared this morning.
No, I didn't.
You had some doozies.
We had principals meeting this morning, and typically we try to start off with a few jokes. And
Can't come unless you have a good joke.
yeah, so not there. You guys tell jokes among yourselves for just a second. Okay, Gina, knock.
Who says?
Justin.
Just in time.
Exactly, just in time to start. We may just go ahead and start anyway.
We have, this is Wardis.
Okay.
You good now, or?
Ben told me the secret.
Okay.
Again, before I forget, Lourdes, would you just stand and raise your hand? In fact, would you just make the announcement in Spanish, you know, what you're here for and anyone needs?
Buenas tardes, si hay alguna persona que necesite traducción en español, por favor, se vienen para acá.
Again, I sent Dana out just very quickly to check the parking lot, but if folks show up late because of that accident, then we will just, I'll try to catch them up later. They can do makeup work. What do you think, Dina? Go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
Okay, right there. Okay, guys, thank you. If at any point you cannot hear me, if I forget and the microphone too far away, remind me, please. I will try to speak up. I will invite everyone to come as close as they want to close, forgive as close as you dare. I just ask you to stay within, that you can't reach me with your arms or a close visit. So my name is Steve Hogan. I'm the Director of Planning and Boundaries for Granite School District. Thank you for being here and part of this process tonight. So we're going to go through, I'm going to go through fairly quickly these slides because I want to spend most of the time on questions, your concerns, your ideas. We'll close the meeting 7:30 at the latest. However, even though that's the official close of the meeting, I will stay here after if someone wants to come up and talk and ask questions. I'll stay here until you kick us out. We've done that before. So just a few other introductions also. We of course have the superintendent and I with us back here. We have some other members of the board. Raise your hand, and if you want to introduce yourselves, I won't embarrass you too much, but board, we always really appreciate you being here. Karen Winder, Chris, and right behind the glasses. So, Todd Halbert, our business administrator, Ben Horsley down here. Ben is actively involved in this process too. I do lead these, but Ben is a huge asset and a great help, and he may on occasion get up and give some insights that he has. We do have other folks in the district. Raise your hand. Directors, okay, elementary and secondary directors. Another board member, Connie, thank you for coming, walking in. Sorry to embarrass you, just want to make sure everybody sees you. And teachers. Just curious. We have teachers in the back working grading papers, I can tell. See? I knew that. Grading papers. Parents. Okay, fantastic. So loves parents. So what group am I missing? Just anybody. Okay. We have Andrea as part of we just simply, this is absolutely a group effort. So thank you for what you're doing. Just trying to, are we live? Facebook? YouTube live. So, and this will be recorded and posted on the website, hopefully by tomorrow, just like the last one was.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, quickly, Gaina Breeze, back over here in the corner, one of my administrative assistants, Darcy Williams, somewhere around, the other probably out front. So it is really a group effort. Thank you. Let's jump in. We did introductions. www. That does not spell a word, by the way. No. Who, what, when, where, why, how. That's really what I want to go over. It's the basics. Let's get to that. What are we doing? Who's involved? Well, you. It's that simple. We want everyone involved that wants to be involved. When I say involved, feedback, anything. It's my job to understand the data. It's my job and the PAC's job, I'll explain that in a second, to understand the basics. What we cannot do and cannot understand, there's no way to understand what is being get feedback, is the nuances, the communities, the schools, the cultures, and all those other things we need to know. We're doing this, and we average 70 to 90 meetings a year when we do these studies. Some of those are large, some of those are small, 2 or 3 people. Some of those are internal, external, online, 70 to 90 meetings. Every year, we learn something that we did not know through this process. We have to do that. Not just have to, but we need to understand. So all stakeholders are involved, communities. Me, Granite Board of Education, again, they are the ones that have the extreme job in the end, because I go to the board and make recommendations to the board with your feedback and your input, but the board has the very, very difficult job in the end to say yea or nay, or to approve something, and say, yes, we will do that, no, we will not. And kudos to them for being on board for the last, this is my 10th year in this position, always being willing to do the right, but often hard things in the process. So thank you, board. Finally, that PAC that you'll hear me refer to is the Population Analysis Committee, and that is a group of about 30 to 35 people on average that represent all parts of our district. Directors, includes also PTA, GEA, you name it. You think of every department in the district, and we have someone there to represent that department and advocate for that group. That's how it should be. Those can be difficult, and for me, they're not always fun. It's somewhere between herding cats and just trying to keep everybody at bay, because they do what we pay them to do, and that is be strong advocates for their departments and for things that everyone needs to be reminded of. I want you to know that, they want you to know that, is that that is their job to push back on me, each other, to make sure we come up with the best solutions through this process. I'll tell you now, you'll hear me say this quite often, there's rarely, if ever, a perfect solution to these studies. I think we have dang good results, solutions. Perfect, no. We know off where we're at with these. Did have a 10 years, one study. I got 10 houses on one street that we moved to a different boundary. Everyone was excited and happy, and that's one of the only study I've ever had where everybody was happy. So, but I will say in the end that these are good results. There we go. Okay, we talked about the who, what. Let's do the what and the where. This is what we're studying. This is the map. I'll show you the different maps. There are 3. This is the elementary, of course, map. And the green box shows you what we call the 3500 South Corridor study. People have pointed out already, I'll remind you that a lot of these schools that caught our attention first, are on the 3100 South Corridor. But to broaden that out a little bit, and maybe just for branding and marketing purposes, we just extended that out and called it 3500 South Corridor to include more areas. So these are the schools. I won't name all those, but there's I think about 18 from Wright and Orchard on the west, Wilson and Golden Walker on the east. You can see, of course, for instance, Rolling Meadows and part of a few others, the box doesn't cover, but it's a box. The same box is showing you the junior high boundaries. The same box on high school boundaries. What are we going to be looking at? Yes, there are typically, we're talking school closures. We don't have to. I'll talk a little more about that in a second. The elementary schools are the only ones in this study that we're considering for closures. Does that mean there is no impact on junior highs or high schools? Unnecessarily, because if you close one school, that oftentimes affects feeder patterns and sometimes adjusts the network feeder patterns and the way those things work. So I want to make sure everyone understands that. As far as a closure, the elementary schools are the only ones under consideration for closure, but the secondary schools could feel that, or the secondary or domino effect from those closures. Okay? Why? That really is the $1 million question, right? Why are we doing this? Optimizing elementary school size creates better outcomes and opportunities for students. Why are we not doing this? Let me talk about both sides. Why are we not doing this? We're not doing this to close the school and save a few bucks, because we don't save enough few bucks to make it worth going through a process, making these big, serious, impactful changes just to save money on utilities and close a building and maybe a distant maybe of even selling a property. With a budget, I don't know, Denver's still close to $1 billion budget, 900 million to $1 billion or top, but with a budget that big to close a school and save on utilities and on the small chance we even sell a property, we can talk about that later, that's not a reason to do this. The reason to consider these changes is better outcomes, better educational outcomes for students. I'll go over that in just a second. and explain what I mean by that. But that's it, that's bottom line. Why are we doing this, Steve? Why are we studying these? Because we believe, in fact, I can at this point say I know, because I've seen it. I've been doing this long enough. I had real heartburn early on in my first couple of years in this job, worrying about the impact of these decisions on students and families. But I've been doing it long enough to have some good hindsight and experience and data to say, these are the proofs. So why? The benefits of consolidation. You can call it closure, call it what you want to, use the word consolidation, or the benefits of trying to optimize or get schools to the right size. We've known for years and years how many people have heard of schools being too large. Okay? It happens. In some parts of the country more than others, in some parts of the state. There are a few schools in the state now, and man, this is a pretty big school, isn't it? Pretty big. Some people might say you have a lot of students. Largest high school, is it still the largest high school in the state?
Whether it is or isn't, I always say that.
Okay, let's go with that. So it's large. What is too large? It's a little debatable, but there are sweet spots. Schools can be too large. A lot of that depends on the building size and resources, but they can always also be too small. And the thing I'm always fighting against, the myth, the thinking that people always say was, gee, Steve, isn't that what we want, is small schools? We want small schools because that means small class sizes, right?
No.
Thank you. Our next meeting is tomorrow. Are you coming there too? Okay.
Why do you need me to right now?
I'll just record what you just said. No. So, but you're right. Do small schools mean small class sizes? No, they do not, because of course they're a ratio. There's a ratio for the number of students, the number of teachers. Smaller schools just means fewer teachers. In fact, when you get too small, you see these peaks and valleys in class size. The larger you get on average, and you find that sweet spot, the more level or average we can make our classes. And so that's what I want to look at. So having that minimum average of 500 to 550 students allows an elementary school staff to staff at a minimum of 3 teachers per grade level. I really don't want to get too stuck on the 550. That, I'll tell you, is based on our average. We have some small schools compared to other districts around the state and even the country. That was just the way they built schools 50, 60, 70 years ago. They were all neighborhood schools. They could house 300, 400, 500 on average, and they were walking schools. We have parts of our district that had 5 and 6 schools in a 1.5 mile radius, and that was great once upon a time. But that's not the world we live in now. So what I do want to focus on, and you'll hear this over and over and over, is the 3 teachers per grade level. That is more important really than the size of the overall school. People wonder, and I'm going to bring this up, reconfiguration. The board has approved, I believe, reconfiguration to begin in 2025. So if you lose 6th grade, doesn't that make you a small school? Well, yeah, your overall enrollment, if you lose a grade, is going to make you smaller. But what does that do to the other grades? Does that affect your number of teachers per grade level? No. You're taking 6th grade and moving them up. All of the others are the same. Overall size, yes, but not the teachers per grade level. No split grade level classrooms. Has anybody ever been or had a student in a split grade level? So in other words, first and second grader, second, third, and fourth, and so on and so on. How wonderful was that? Yeah. And I only half joke because we have some amazing teachers that do miracles, and they can teach, and we have some great results. But it's not ideal. It's not best practice. If we cannot do that, we don't want to do that. So those happen. The smaller you get, the more often you see split grade level classrooms, which are not good. Provides more parental choice. If you have 1, even 2 teachers per grade level, if you have 1, of course, you have no choice. And if Johnny and Mrs. Jones don't see eye to eye on some things, and that gets difficult. Or sometimes with 2 per grade, that can be a challenge. We often see, I've seen this as a former principal, by the way, for 17 years, is you have Mrs. Jones, who's a 25-year veteran and has won all these awards, and she is amazing. And she's next to Mrs. Smith, and Mr. Smith, who is a first-year teacher, and is gonna be amazing, but, is not as experienced. And who does everyone want? Oh, my child in that class. And so you ended up with all of these and many, many more examples of why having one, even two teachers per grade level can be a challenge. Again, I'm referring to elementary schools. I'm not talking about secondary schools. That schedule is different and the way things are formatted in secondary schools. But in elementary schools, 3 teachers per grade level is what we're shooting for. Professional learning communities or collaboration, we know is important, is much more effective with more. Team teaching, same way, balances out classroom size, I mentioned that, okay? The economy of scale, if I were gonna put